What is up, everybody? Welcome back to PositivelyDJ. I am DJ, and if you saw the title to this video, you know that today we're going to be talking about That's a Plus One's most recent video, my thoughts on hacking and cheating in competitive Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Let's Go Eevee. Now, the reason why I feel like I need to make a response video to this video is because he does mention me a lot, and it is because the video that he has made is a direct response to a conversation we had in his Discord. So that being said, before we get started, I just want to say Thatsa is a great streamer. He's a great YouTuber. He knows a lot about Pokemon. When I first came back, he was always open to answering questions in his stream chat, and he has answered a ton of questions from me and other people in his stream. So he's always very helpful, always, there for his stream community, that kind of thing. So I am not in any way, by any statements in this video, throwing any shade at Thatsa. I am not wishing him any ill will, and I am not trying to put him down at all for anything that he said in his video or in the conversation we had on his Discord. So to give you all a little bit of backstory on where the initial question even came from. Question being question for everyone. You think that gymming should be cracked down on in Pokemon tournaments? You think it breaks the integrity of the game? I would like to know what some of you think, since I'm just coming back from not playing since Generation 3. So I was just looking for opinions, right? It comes from YouTube. I was watching some footage of the VGC championships in 2018, watching some of the final matches and stuff like that, and trying to get like a feel of what VGC is like, trying to get a feel of what the environment's like, what the competition's like, what would be expected of somebody going into VGC. Because when Pokemon Sword and Shield come out, obviously there's going to be probably more of a competitive scene for that game. And I thought maybe I might take part in it, that kind of thing, depending on what work looks like and what the schedule for work looks like, that kind of thing. So I was watching the video, I watched it all the way to the end, and then I scroll down, and in the recommended videos there's this other video where it says this player was cheating, and I'm like, I just watched that match. I didn't see any cheating. I didn't see any kind of thing that would suggest that they were cheating, that kind of thing. And I'm like, how were they cheating? Okay. And so I click the video, and the person in the video goes into depth on how this person was cheating and what it was that they were cheating at, that kind of thing. And one of the things they mentioned was ginning. And ginning is basically the process of picking what Pokemon you want, giving them any kind of stat spread, giving them any kind of nature, whatever moveset, and giving them like whatever items and abilities, everything. Just setting them up, click, boom, they're done. You don't have to go find them. You don't have to go do anything. You just click, 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 bing, and you have a new Pokemon. I was like, holy cow, that's crazy. I didn't even know that kind of thing existed. Like, here I am running around for 3 days looking for Gyarados and Let's Go. I mean, looking for Magikarp and Let's Go. I can only imagine what it would be like for somebody looking for a Pokemon in a game that's a little bit more complex than Pokemon Let's Go, right? So they could probably be looking for Pokemon for days, maybe even weeks. I have no idea. And this other person is just click, 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 bing, and they've got another Pokemon. They click, 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 bing, they got another Pokemon, versus running around in circles, looking here and there for Pokemon, and soft resets, and soft resets, and soft resets, and soft resets, and resets, and resets, and resets, and resets, and resets, going crazy looking for a specific Pokemon. You could see where that could give somebody a competitive edge, because while one person is running around looking for Pokemon and, on the grind to try to find that Pokemon, this person's already got their Pokemon because all they did was a few clicks in an application, and now they're battling. That gives them more time to hone their skills on the battlefield versus having to raise a Pokemon, bottle cap it, and all that's after you find or hatch the right Pokemon. With that being said, let's get right into the discussion we had in his Discord and his video and talk about what was said and give you guys a bit of my perspective on what was said. And now that you guys have kind of the backstory of why I asked that question, please note I asked that question, or a very similar one, in multiple Discords because I wanted to get some opinions from people who are more experienced. Like, I know that has been in tournaments and competitions and that kind of thing. So getting people who have been more experienced in that manner, getting their opinions, that would be very valuable. That's what I was going for. That being said, I didn't know that there was going to be a video until he's like, oh, I just made a video on this. So let's go ahead and get into his video and kind of talk about what he thought was being said or relayed and what I was actually trying to relay. And we'll talk about the statements in the Discord as well as the statements in his video. So before we get into the meaty part of the conversation, I just want to talk about That's' intro a little bit. Like I said, you know, I don't have any ill will against the guy. I thank him for the props that he gave me on being a positive person, a positive streamer. I just want to say thank you for that. But in the intro of his video, he tried to say that we were having an argument in his Discord, and I will say I wasn't trying to have an argument. I was just trying to prompt discussion on a topic that I had a little bit of knowledge of, right? So I had just learned what ginning really was and that people could hack their Pokemon for tournaments and that kind of thing. I just want to see what the thoughts were of the community at large and what the thought process was for somebody who's competed in tournaments around this topic, right? So hopefully you'll see that when we start to go over the conversation, what was said and what he said in his video compared to how I'm actually trying to come across. That being said, you know, the question for everyone. You think that ginning should be cracked down on in Pokemon tournaments? Do you think it breaks the integrity of the game? I would like to know what some of you think, since I'm just coming back from Gen 3 and I haven't played since. You know, I haven't played since Gen 3, and Pokemon Let's Go was really my first game coming back. His response was that it is what it is. You can be mad about it all you want, but at the end of the day, it has no bearing on your own gameplay. The thing is I wasn't even mad. I even said that, you know, I'm not mad. And he says, you know, in his next statements that, not saying you're mad. Like I said, I wasn't even mad. You know, I was just asking a question for opinions. I've got no tournament experience. The only real experience I have with anything competitive Pokemon is Let's Go Wi-Fi battles and battles for my viewers. So I feel like when he first initially saw this question, maybe he was projecting some complaints he's heard in the community out onto me when he read the question initially, which is fine. You know, some people get really passionate about a topic, and when a question about it comes up, it sparks a passionate response. I understand that. And I wasn't accusing anyone of ginning or hacking in any match that I was in. And I wasn't saying it was a reason that I had lost. I know as a trainer there are always things that I can improve on because I want to be the best that I can be. And I want to help others be the best that they can be. I feel this is a goal that Dasa and I both share. I believe that we both want to be our best, and we want to help others be their best. The next part was more along the lines of him sharing a time where he couldn't get a Pokemon he wanted, and he was salty about it because he couldn't get the right one, or he couldn't get ones with perfect IVs, and he lost because of it, because he played with what he had instead of getting somebody to hack a Pokemon for him. He then proceeds to say that everyone uses hacked Pokemon at VGC. But the question is, why should this be accepted? Why should it be the norm? Why should it be that you're gonna have people who work real hard and then you're gonna have people who take a shortcut, and that kind of thing is just accepted? There's a blind eye turned to it, you know? Nobody talks about it, or nobody wants to talk about it or deal with it really. I'm saying either there should be no hacked Pokemon and they should crack down on it, or they should make everyone use hacked Pokemon. That way it is an even playing field, and that way all you're measuring at that point is skill. But I do agree with that, so where he does say that you should always try to be better and do better than you were before. I do agree with that statement. The next part I want to talk about is the part where I'm saying, so by do the work, you mean find someone with Gen Pokemon. So I'm not actually trying to say he's cheating or anything like that. I'm actually referring to line 5 and 6 in his response, where he says, if it gets to anybody, then they're just using it as an excuse to why they aren't living up to their fullest potential. Instead of complaining about it, they need to put in the work to get better. Well, that's why I said, you know, so by putting in the work, you mean find someone with Gen Pokemon and get some from them, and then do some more battling so you can be your fullest potential. So I wasn't trying to accuse him of cheating at all. And his next response is, no, just get it in game. Every mon that is legal in VGC and Let's Go can be caught by legit means. If catching them in game was possible and, you know, as easy as he said it is, then everybody would do it and that's how the game would be played. And then why do we still have people ginning or hacking Pokemon? So the next part of the conversation, he actually skips over a question I asked, and that question being, so why put in the hours to get the perfect mon if ginning is acceptable? I feel like I'm asking a legitimate question here. I'm trying to ask here, where is the motivator and reward for somebody to put in the work to get the perfect statted, natured, abilitied, and itemed Pokemon if ginning is accepted? And since that's skipped over this question, I feel like it's important for me to give you guys some context to where it was in the Discord discussion. So what I have here is I have where the question was and what his next response was. And we'll get into the next response in just a second. So in the next part of the conversation, instead of answering the question I asked before, in both his video and in the conversation, he goes into some philosophy here and he asks the question, what's your list of seasons from favorite to least? And my answer, being honest and truthful, is spring, summer, fall, winter. He then goes to say, okay, so just because you don't like winter doesn't mean it doesn't exist and doesn't fulfill an important role in setting up for spring. Success is like the changing seasons. You cannot change the seasons, but you can change what's up. My response to that was, but wouldn't it be considered cheating to skip winter and get back to spring just because you like it more? Skipping through the parts that might be tiresome or irritating just to get to the parts you like typically is considered cheating or the lazy man's way out and is looked down upon. Why is it acceptable here? So like I said, he gets into some philosophy here, and while I respect the want to use philosophy to prove a point, I feel he's misunderstanding what the writer is actually trying to say from my perspective. So I actually try to explain what I think the philosopher is really trying to talk about. Rather than saying to ignore something that will happen anyway, I believe that the philosopher is saying that the difficult and tiresome and hard times, the grind, like having to raise your Pokemon the right way rather than ginning or hacking, fulfills an important role in setting up for the spring, you know, the good times, the things you enjoy, like competitive battling. By ginning and being okay with ginning, you are in fact acting like winter doesn't even exist, or it doesn't exist for some players. And you're perfectly okay with them going into spring where they can just practice and battle without having that important setup that winter, finding and raising the Pokemon the right way, provides. Therefore, he is negating the whole philosophy example to prove his point, when in fact, the philosophy example he provides actually proves my point more, that you shouldn't skip out on the winter or the grind to get your Pokemon by hacking or ginning. You should instead go through that time because it will set you up better for the spring, you know, the competitive battling that you want to get to. But how he actually uses it here is that he's saying just ignore the people that hack or gin because, you know, you can't pretend like it doesn't exist, and you losing to those people is going to be your winter. That's not what the philosopher's trying to say at all. To his last line, he's talking about that you can't change the seasons that occur. You know, success is like the seasons. You can't change the seasons, but you can change yourself. So you can't change the seasons that occur, like skipping the grind, but you can use those times to change yourself and improve. For ginners and hackers, they are completely going against this whole philosophy and negating it. Again, this philosophy example better suits my argument than how he's trying to use it to prove a point in this discussion. It's not about blaming something outside your control or blaming something that occurs naturally as to why you're failing or you're losing. Hacking and ginning by its very nature is just the opposite. It's something that can be controlled and enforced on, and it's completely opposite of anything that happens naturally in the game. It is unnatural, and it's also within the player's control as to whether or not they hack or gin. And in his next response, he actually completely ignores the question that I asked at the end of my statement here. He never answers the question, why is it acceptable? It's almost like he wants us to turn a blind eye to the fact that cheating is happening, that hacking and ginning is happening, and just let it be. Just do you and just let that be. The problem with that, though, is that the hacking and ginning is allowing people to spend more time getting better at the competitive battling scene and skipping the seasons rather than doing things the right way like everybody else and going through the winters and through the falls to get to the springs and summers in their Pokemon journey. So in his response here to the last question and statement, he actually says, don't wish it was easier, wish you were better. Winners don't wish for less problems, they wish for more skills. Instead of quoting a philosopher here, I wish he would have actually answered the question. But that being said, he says, don't wish it were easier, wish you were better. Problem with that statement though is, Ginners don't have to wish it were easier, they take the easy route and get to the part that they want to get more skills at, and that's the competitive battling. He then goes to say, winners don't wish for less problems, they wish for more skills. The problem with that is the hackers and ginners don't face the problems that others actually have. They skip them. That way they get to battle more and get more skills per se. So again, his philosophy here is actually negated by the hackers and ginners. So instead of using this as a point to somebody who is trying to ask, should hacking or ginning be acceptable or should it be cracked down on, what he should be doing here probably is looking at the hackers and ginners and saying, don't wish it for easier for you to get your Pokemon the regular way. Wish you were better at Pokemon overall. And when they complain about having to run around and find Pokemon and get Pokemon and hatch Pokemon and look for this IV and look for that nature and that ability, you should be saying, don't wish for less problems, wish for more skills. That's what he should be talking about, instead of trying to say that don't wish for less hackers, wish for more skills. Don't wish there were less hackers, wish you were better. Seems kind of flipped, if you ask me. He should be saying this to the ginners and hackers themselves as to why they should do the grind instead of hacking and ginning their Pokemon. So again, this philosophy seems completely flipped and seems like he should be saying it the other way around, and I believe it better suits my point and my argument in this discussion rather than his. Now here he also does try to say that maybe I got this question or this topic from my community, that maybe we don't like hackers and we don't like ginners, and maybe that's what prompted this whole thing. In reference to my community though, as stated before, I don't have any tournament experience and my streamer community is rather small, and we don't focus on hacking. We don't sit there and rave about how bad hackers and ginners are. We just have fun. We have a positive experience. We help each other out. Again, it was outside my community where I first learned about ginning and hacking. And that's why I was going to various more experienced communities to see what their opinions were. So this did not originate in my community. I want to be clear on that. Here he starts to say a phrase that he ends up saying a lot throughout the rest of his video. You can't hack skills. No, you can't hack skills. He's right about that. But hackers and ginners who hack their Pokemon have more time to hone their skills in the battle arena compared to those who went through the grind to get the right Pokemon for their team. So while no, you can't hack skills, you can hack the Pokemon, so you have more time to get skills. So should that really be acceptable? That is my question. Should it be acceptable? In this next section, I try to throw some philosophy back at him by saying you can have all the knowledge and skills in the world, but sometimes it does come down to who has the better equipment, right? You can be the best general and tactician in the world, but if your military has bad equipment, you won't win anything. In his video, he tries to say that I went off topic here, but I was still on topic. And I was bouncing off his last quote, asking for more skills. He takes my statement out of context here. I was saying you can know all there is about the game, know all the tactics, but because you didn't have the perfect team, because you chose not to hack your Pokemon, you can still lose. And that's true. You can know everything there is to know about the game, and you can know every play, every battle play, every switch out, every order to do every move. But if you don't have the perfect team for whatever reason, you can still lose. Bassa provided the perfect example. His Groudon example earlier in his video is a perfect example of how he knew all the tactics. He had all the knowledge and skills in the world, but because he didn't have the best equipment in his team, he lost because of it. If he had hacked or gen his Pokemon, he may not have lost, but because he chose not to hack, like he accuses his opponent of doing, and Vasa did things the right way, he lost and blamed his loss on him not having perfect Pokemon and somebody else hacking their Pokemon. That's the very same thing he's telling people not to do in his video, but he's kind of doing it when he gave his example. His response to my analogy was, well, if you were going to do all the work to be the world's best tactician, then wouldn't you do all the work to have the best army? Sounds like a tactical error if you didn't, in my opinion. Seriously, anyone who has a problem with hackers won't amount to much in life. They are looking for an excuse for why they can't win instead of finding ways to win using their own strength. In response to the first line of his statement here, hackers and geners aren't doing the work to have the best army. It's being handed to them. So they have more time to work on their battling skills while other players are still on the grind trying to get their own team before they can even try to work on their battling skills. Again, I'm not complaining about someone hacking a match that I was in, which is a direct contrast to what he did earlier in his video, blaming his loss on, the hack Pokemon versus him not having perfect Pokemon. And here he kind of starts to talk about that if you have this kind of mentality, you're going to use it in life, and that, this conversation directly correlates to life. Truth of the matter is, in all actuality, people do get promoted because of their connections. This is a fact, but I don't let it deter me from me doing my personal best. I also want to point out here that by him saying anyone who has a problem with hackers won't amount to much in life, and remember earlier he said that me and my community, maybe we complain about hackers all the time, and that's where this whole thing came up at. So in essence, he's saying that me and my community, because we complain about hackers, we won't amount to much in life, and that's kind of bad if you think about it. Like, why would you say that? Sounds kind of harsh, just saying. In the next part of the conversation, I try to point some things out to him by saying you're only able to be a general for an army you can get into, which is typically a product of your upbringing or home country. So no, you wouldn't be able to do all the work to have the best army. Also, genning and hacking isn't doing all the work. It's actually skipping all the work, is it not? So you say do all the work when you actually mean find someone who's bypassed all the work and gives you the easy ticket, right? His response here is, except this is a video game where you can do 100% all the work. Saying you can't because you've been dealt a bad hand is just an excuse. I just want to make it clear here, I wasn't trying to ask him if he was hacking. What I meant is many times your army or your Pokemon team is a product of what is available to you due to your connections, whether it is legit trades or genning or hacking. If you don't have those connections or resources, then you wouldn't have the best team. Even if you knew all the tactics and strategies out there, as we know, Pokemon splits the Pokemon between the two versions of a region, and many people only have money for one copy of one version, and if they don't have the resources or connections to get the other Pokemon, then yes, they are a bit limited compared to those who have the connections or resources to do otherwise. The next part in this video, he tries to say saying you have work or school is just an excuse, that you should make time and you should be able to find time to do things that you want to do, this, that, and another. This to me actually sounds a bit disconnected from the reality that most people face, which is why many people may hack or gen because they don't have the time to do otherwise. But if this is to be accepted, then shouldn't it be mandatory so that others are not held back like Vatsa was with this Groudon? For example, players should have the option to obtain hacked or gen Pokemon for competitive play to make it fair across the board and level the playing field, so that way it's just about skill and nothing else. So you walk into a tournament or regionals or whatever you're going to, they could ask you what's your team comp, what IV spread do you want, what Eevee spread do you want, what abilities do you want, what item do you want, that kind of thing for your team, and they would give you then a team of perfect Pokemon to your specifications. That way, when the competition starts, it is just about skill. It is just about tactics. It is just about how you play the game and how you play the match. This way, everything across the playing field is level. It evens everything out. In my discussions with other Discords, someone brought up the option to be able to gen your Pokemon after you've completed the main story, so you can go straight into the competitive scene without having to do all the work that you would normally have to do to get your Pokemon after you've beaten the game. This could be a viable option to fixing the problem where you can gen the Pokemon in game after you've completed the main story. You can then gen your Pokemon the way you want them in game, completely legit, not having to hack it or anything else, and then you can go into the competitive battle scene here. Now it's a completely level playing field as long as you've completed the game, and you don't have to worry about doing any of that other stuff. So in the next part of the conversation, I feel like I asked him a very good question. So then if you did all the work and someone else didn't because they gen their Pokemon, wouldn't that make you feel cheated in a way? Or wouldn't you feel like it wasn't worth you doing all the work since it didn't matter whether you cheated or whether you did things the right way and put in the work? His response was, I 1000% wouldn't feel cheated. You have to go through the winters of life to get to the springs. Have you ever been training or breeding something and found that it learns a move you didn't know? Or Eevee training and some moveset idea hits you out of nowhere? How is that inspiration supposed to happen to players who skip out on winter? It's not about doing it because it's right, it's doing it because it gives you the right amount of time to reflect on your mon/moveset choice. Hackers who make their mons out of nothing don't have enough time to actively reflect on their mon/move choices. That's the type of thing that you can only really get by doing everything legit. So in the next part of his video, he's really expressing his own personal thoughts. At this point though, I think I've explained and shown how genning or hacking mons for official competitions is actually providing an unfair advantage the way things are at this time. That's I even proved this earlier with this Groudon example. Again, while you can't hack skills, those who hack or gen save time, which then can be used to hone their skills and change teams on the fly without having to find, hatch, and raise a Pokemon every time they need to go back to the drawing board. And this does provide an unfair advantage for them compared to those who do it the right way. Most info about Pokemon and the Pokemon games is able to be found on the internet with places like Seerby.net and others, so it wouldn't be hard for someone to look up who learns what moves, what abilities, and then go gen or hack a Pokemon. Then they get back to battling, and this whole scenario that he talks about where you only get that experience and knowledge by doing things the right way just kind of goes out the window, because you can look everything up and create whatever Pokemon you want, then change it on the fly if you're hacking or genning. So at this point in the conversation, I decided to try to wrap things up and finish it off, because I feel like maybe he's not understanding where I'm coming from with some of this stuff, because this was a text conversation on Discord saying thanks for your opinion and letting me get in your head a little to see what your thought process was. One last question: do you look down upon those who hack or gen, or do you think they deserve championships just as much as the people who put in the work and do things the right way? His response here was, of course they deserve it. I'm never going to seriously look down on people for how they choose to play the game. That kind of segregation leads to an elitist mentality. We don't need that in our scene at all. If I fight against an all shiny Mewtwo, Mew, Melmetal team, I'm going to throw some shade as a joke, but I'm not going to think I'm any better than them. Now in his video, in this last part here, he reiterates his you can't hack skills. I've already said my piece on that, and I wasn't trying to say people who go through the grind are better than those who hack or gen their Pokemon. I was asking if he thought that people who broke the rules still deserve to compete, battle, or keep their titles if they get them, because in most competitions, or many competitions that are going to be official Pokemon competitions, genning or hacking your Pokemon is against the rules. And the question was, do you think that they deserve the championships if they get them, since they broke the rules to begin with? It would be like someone in sports using performance enhancing drugs because they didn't want to do the work or they didn't want to go out and bulk up to do it the right way. Then they play and they win. Well, people have had titles, medals, awards, and all that kind of stuff stripped from them for doing this kind of thing. So that being the case, should hacking or ginning a Pokemon be accepted in a sport where it's against the rules? If so, should the rules be changed to where everyone uses hacked Pokemon so that at that point, it's a leveled playing field where you are just testing battle tactics and skill? Let me know what your thoughts are in the comments down below on this topic and the videos and the discussion in Discord. Like the video if you enjoyed it, subscribe to the channel for more videos, follow me on Twitch and Twitter, those are going to be in the description down below, along with the link to That's His Video, so that way you can check that out. This is PositivelyDJ. I am DJ. You all take care, be safe, and I will see you next time.